CindyPaulos, and I am so happy to be here with you and the Creators Show. The Creators was a beautiful idea done by me and Beth Hilton. And Beth Ann Hilton and I said, let's explore the creative process in music and all the arts. And of course, I love Beth and have known Beth for years, and she's part of the B Company. And we have decided that we're not going to make people listen to the whole wonderful long biographies, but tell them they can go to the bcompany.com and find out everything that Beth does. But I totally respect her. And I'm so glad to welcome my co host, Beth Ann Hilton. Aloha.
Aloha, Cindy.
Good to
How is
have you
everybody
here.
today? We're so glad to be with you and bring you another inspiring and uplifting episode of The Creators. And this time, our guest is Dyan Garris. And I cannot wait to see Cindy and Dyan take it away because they are both extremely spiritual and gifted women. And I'm probably just going to sit back and listen to them. First of all, let me introduce Dyan a little bit further. She is a multi-award-winning New Age recording artist, an award-winning author, and an official music reviewer for Zone Music Reporter, New Age CD, and Spirit Seeker magazine. She has recorded and produced 13 albums. She's also a visual artist. And in January 2021, she started a new radio station called New Age Notes. That's easy to find, just newagenotes.com. And she will be featuring the best New Age artists on the planet. She can live stream. I'm sure there's a link from the site to that on playerlive365.com. And her URL, if you want to tune in now or explore more about her later, is Dyan, Dyan, Garris music.com. DyanGarrismusic.com. So welcome, Dyan. We want you to say hello and tell us where you're joining us from.
Hi, Beth. Hi, Cindy. I want to thank you for having me on your show. It's really an honor. I'm in Tucson, Arizona,
Oh, wonderful.
where it's 72 and sunny.
You know, we got you at about 75 or 76, and it's so amazing. You know, Dyan, I've had a chance to work with you and talk to you many times, and I've never had a chance to actually see you visually before. Since we're doing both audio and visual on this, I want to let people know you will be able to see a YouTube link on this. So it's so good to be able to see you and be with you here. And when I was talking with Beth about this, I thought, well, what a perfect example of how that creative flow gets manifested into, and you know, you seem to have been able to get into both the audio through your amazing CDs, which are very inspirational. I play on my station in Sedona, KUOS, and also creating your own graphic artwork. And you've done many cards, tarot cards that are very inspirational and beautiful, but you also write. So let's explore your creative process and how this comes through you and how you develop the art and the music and the writing.
Well, thank you, Cindy. Thank you for all those compliments. I think a person comes in here with those things. And, you know, I knew from a really early age that I was an artist. That's, you know, not just a musician, but an artist. And I was fortunate enough to have, my mother was very artsy and musical. And so she encouraged that. So at 15, when my peers were out partying, I asked her for more piano lessons, you know, and she gave them to me. And so, you know, it's been encouraged for me, but you know, I always knew anyway.
That's a wonderful point to make. I was just thinking as you said that about right now in the space that we're in our society, you know, what do artistic and sensitive children do if they're born into homes that don't encourage it, you know? And that's a whole other trail we could go down, but you know, it just occurred to me that that's such a gift from your mother. I'm so glad.
Well, it really was a gift from her. And now the other siblings were quite different. One ended up being a lawyer, one is a CFO, I mean, so for me, I was just lucky that she saw this in me and helped nurture that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you began with piano, and then were you writing and doing artwork at the same time, or did those things come in eventually? And
So I was reading at 3 and in school at 4. And and she read to us every night too. So the literature part of this was always really important. And yeah, the writing, everything just was there, and then through school and life, you learn how to develop that.
You know what's interesting?
Yeah,
I feel sometimes, Dyan, that these beautiful blossoms and seeds of flowers that you were talking about, of having that gift of sensitivity to love art and music and all that, can sometimes be squashed when children go through high school and all of a sudden they're encouraged to go to college, and they're told maybe by a parent or a counselor, it's like, well, you can't make a living writing, you can't make a living doing artwork, or you can't make a living as a musician. Why don't you get serious and get a job or go and get a degree in something that's going to make you money? And I've seen many creative people squashed at that point. How did you graduate to the point where, like, you decided to go ahead and follow your creative path rather than just try to get a job that would make you money?
Okay, that's such a good point, because I was never expected to make a living from it. I was expected to get married. I'm 100% Greek, so I was expected to feed everybody until we die. And no, I was never expected to make a living out of it. That was just unheard of. But I knew that's who I am. It's not what I do, it's who I am. So technology and everything, seemed to cooperate a little later in life anyway, so that you're able to make a living from it. But in college, I was in fine arts and taking an art class. The professors basically told us the best you can hope for is to design sheets. So design sheets and wallpaper. So you better find a husband. That was the mindset.
That's oh my God, that's terrible.
Yeah, design sheets. That was good.
But I noticed your graphic work is really powerful. We were giving a little chat before we started about how powerful it is to have any kind of inspirational album cover, CD cover, whatever cover that goes with the art. So obviously your graphics played well in the cards that are very interesting cards, tarot cards you created, and also for your album covers. So where is, when you're creating your beautiful inspirational music, do you pick one design that you feel is really embodying what you're creating in your music?
Well, I do the cover last. After all the music is done, then I do the cover. Because you don't know what that album is going to shape up to be until you're done with it.
That's a very good point. And we haven't really talked about this point a lot, which is that once you're starting the creative process, something else takes over, and you may know what your intent is, but then you have to be open to the flow of where it's going to go as well, don't you?
You do. And I will say, the creative process for me musically is, I'm a channel. So I hear the music in my head first, and then I try to play what I'm hearing. Then hopefully it comes out all right. But I usually do it in one take. So I do it, I sit down, I play it, and that's it. I'm done. I can never play it again. And I know sometimes people make sheet music and things. I did try that many years ago before the technology was really there. But what printed out, I tried to play it and I said to my husband, I can't even play this. I don't even know how this even got here. So
Well,
it's interesting.
yeah, it's important, I think, to note that, Diane, you had the inspiration, you are a channel, you hear the music, which is amazing. I wish I could do that. I would love to have that happen to me someday. But you had it there, but you still had to do the work of figuring out how to manifest it. As you said, you tried different things, right? So you finally came to the point where you knew you had to play it in one take. You had to develop the tools to record it well and record it properly, and then to, take it from there in production.
Yeah, it's been a real challenge, actually. But now, with all the technology that we have, it's quite easy. 15 years ago, it wasn't really all that easy, because I'd have to play it into my keyboard, my synthesizer, and record it onto a card, and then take the whole thing, the keyboard, the card, everything into the studio. And then say my song was on, 14 tracks. And then you're taking each track out one by one. Yeah, it hasn't been easy. So now you can just sit down and, play it into your Pro Tools. It's very much easier than it was.
But you have to have that tech skill as well. I Pro Tools is pretty much the standard, the gold standard, and I've never been able to get there. So I count on other people in production to be able to carry my thought forth in what I originally had as a concept. And I know who also channels is Peter Cater, and he also is blessed and he has his own studio. So he's doing his own music and mixing and mastering and is able to be very true to that. However, when you collaborate, then there's another whole element of working and maintaining that vision so you always have to find, I guess, even a studio that maintains your vision as carefully and as well as you have envisioned it, right?
That's so right, Cindy, and truly that has been very challenging. Now I did find a studio, John Herrera Clemsville Productions in Chandler, Arizona, and he just gets new age music, and he gets it. So most of the studios, even 5 years ago, maybe, go back more than that, maybe 10, they didn't really get new age music at all. And it was like, if it didn't have vocals and it didn't have guitar and it didn't have, they just couldn't really get what you were trying to do. Plus, doing relaxation music, it would put everybody to sleep. So you have an engineer sitting there falling asleep trying to, edit your music. So yeah, it's been challenging. Definitely. Yeah.
That's funny. I can definitely imagine that happening.
Yeah. And sometimes you're working at, midnight or 3 a.m. and, everyone's sleeping. So, it's crazy.
Well, getting back to then, you're doing all of this busy work, in a sense, important busy work, but how then do you keep that channel open? Does that valve open and close? And this, I want to hear you and Cindy talk about this, because she's in the same boat. You guys are incredible channels, both of you.
Thank you. Well, so what I discovered, and I discovered this early on because I came in this way, so it wasn't, you cannot always be on, but you can never really turn it off. So you can turn it down, but you can't really turn it off. And then you just need to, like any other skill, you just need to master it. You can't, well, you can, but you can't go running up to people in the street and going, hey, I have a message for you. That's kind of nutty, right? So, but when you first explore those gifts, that's your inclination because you want to help and you want to, help the person. But that's not, it's just not socially acceptable. And well, it is more now, but say 30 years ago, you're a nut, right?
You know how I feel about it, Dyan? I feel it's like turning a channel on a radio dial or a TV channel. You know, in the morning, I get my best meditation and writing in the morning. I'm a morning person, I know that. But I've also found that whatever comes to me is usually a message from me to use. And then I find that during the day, which I have to say, I like my meditation time more than my work time because I work at the station. But that work time, I'm trying to merge more. It's like, okay, from what I've gotten, how do I learn what I've gotten and put it to work with what challenges may come? And then we've seen this in the society. What challenges have come these last weeks, how do you take those and kind of gauge them as what channel you're tuning in to figure out how that fits in with the bigger picture, And I found this last year that I did 3 CDs and you helped me and put music and gave me music for one of the spoken word ones, because when we're challenged as much as we've been challenged, I think for creative people like you and others, and I know Beth, and that we have to feel like this is the time we need to give back more. Did you feel that?
Well, always. I mean, always. But I think one of the keys to navigating through this kind of stuff is just to stay balanced. Stay balanced, stay grounded, stay balanced, stay in your high vibration. And that takes practice. And
very, very well said. I think balance has actually been the key astrologically that I've been hearing too, with the Saturn and Jupiter needing to balance that out. And I think that that balance is the only way we're going to kind of survive some rocky waters and times, with everyone kind of split on their own different ways of believing different things. So as a musician, we always have, or a creator, we certainly can chime in what we think is for the best from our point of view. But and I think we can go back to that balance and even that, because how do we take our message and take it out there and get it out there to thinking, how is this best going to be expressed where someone can gain something from it, right? Because in the bottom line is, Dyan, you're a musician that's inspired, but the only reason you're doing the work you're doing is to get your message out to other people so they can be inspired as well. Is that correct?
I don't think it's, well, yes, inspiring people, yes. But I don't think it's my message necessarily. It's more like a vibration of healing. It's not, I don't have an agenda. So it's not about me. It's not, I don't have an agenda. So just to help people navigate through, and that is what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. All of the creative people trying to help the world navigate through these strange times. Very strange.
I'm glad you really brought up that vibration, because something I've always felt in my meditation work, that the frequency and the vibrations make a difference. We've seen it, of course, proven time and time again with animals, with plants, and now more and more with how music can heal people. And I do believe you're right about the vibration and frequency helping many people as well. I think that's very important, and definitely something that you can't take for granted. And I think that the energy that's being created from the works I'm seeing right now is carrying that. You've been getting into doing more reviews recently. So when you go about listening to other people's music, and you're going to then having to take what you get from the music and put it down in words and try to define it, how do you, again, hear that music, listen to that energy, and then try to express what you feel they're expressing?
Yeah, well, it helps to be a little psychic, because I listen to everything, and I hear a lot of music, as you might realize. And so I'm listening to every track, And it's a conversation. So what is that person trying to say? I don't have to agree with what they're saying, but what are they trying to say? And there is so much beautiful music right now coming to the planet. Gorgeous, beautiful, high vibrational music, which I'm happy to hear. But yeah, it's a conversation. You're trying to just figure out what that person's trying to say and honor it. So it is a little bit challenging sometimes to put it into words. So in a way, I'm kind of a translator. I'm just trying to translate what you're trying to say so that other people can understand what you're trying to say without hearing it. It's kind of hard.
And Beth, in a way, I think, Beth, you might be doing the same thing as helping people to get their expressions out there in so many different platforms. And isn't that kind of your job as well, as to try to translate it well to others in ways that maybe the musicians couldn't?
Yes, but I think my approach is definitely more just strategic. It's not my creative brain. It's a lot of tools and technology, and always just trying to keep up on, what's developing, what are the new opportunities for people. So, I like to think that I keep very focused on that so that the artists can just sit back and relax and create and feel confident that their work will get out there. But I would like to say that I have had more than one of my music clients say to me, Dyan is psychic. Like, her reviews were uncanny, in their insight. One is our beloved friend who left the planet, Eric Scott. He was just such a gem, and a bass player and an incredible artist. And he just loved you, Dyan, and he loved what you could see in his music. And so I'm grateful for that.
Well, I loved him. We had many good conversations. And yeah, he was very special. He's a special guy.
Yeah.
But
more than one artist has said that to me. So I'm so glad that you've been able to integrate, not just being an artist and a channel and everything else, but also, to bring that in service to the music community as well.
Well, thank you. I actually didn't know that. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I did have somebody say to me, well, one of the things I wrote was that this track feels like a road trip. And he wrote me and said, that's exactly what it was. We were on a road trip, and I wrote it. I said, I didn't say anything other than that, but yeah, so I didn't know that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So tell us, Dyan, what's the best way to contact you if people want to reach you for more information?
Oh, so just Dyan Garris at gmail.com.
Dyan Garris at gmail.com. And you also have your website.
Yes.
Dyan Garris Music.
Yes, DyanGarrisMusic.com. Yes.
DyanGarrisMusic.com. It's so nice to be able to have some time to chat with you. And,
well, it's really nice to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure. And we wish you the very best in all of your future projects. You're quite prolific. And I think you express that creative spirit at work. And I thank you for all the beautiful music that you've created. And I feel blessed to have worked with you and had some of your music behind some of my words. So I thank you very much. A big aloha to you.
Thank you very much, Cindy, for all your kind words and for doing this great show. I'm really excited about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aloha. And now Beth and I are going to continue on something. And Beth, you had an idea that I just embraced as soon as you came up with it. And maybe you can tell us what you were thinking about and what we're going to be doing in the future.
Sure, Cindy, thanks. I was thinking along the lines of what we were talking about with Dyan, how, the arts really do integrate. People are not just musicians, they're often visual artists, or they're into even newer technologies of art and expression and digital art. there's just so much in the contemporary art world right now, and I think because people have had time during the pandemic to really get into it. They are exploring other ways of doing things, and even pursuing education on new art. So some of the places in LA that I've loved to visit on a regular basis are like the Broad Museum downtown. They have all these amazing contemporary exhibits that come from all around the world. But then again, I love our street artists, and I really got into that thanks to Lawrence Blatt, who's a guitar player that I work with, and he was a big Banksy fan, still is, but his art interests kind of caught with me, and I started exploring more of that world. And there's a magazine called Wide Walls that has incredible stories about all the street artists around the world who have developed this from what was in the 70s and 80s considered graffiti, to now evolving into finally being a really valuable part of a city's visual scapes, and there's even cities everywhere who are commissioning this art to make their cities more interesting. Right here in Burbank, in fact, there was a wonderful competition that was open to kids and teens to create artwork that would then decorate our otherwise sort of bland beige electrical boxes all over the city. And even that, brings so much fun and points of interest and talking topics to people, and whose kid did which one and where was it. But they're really beautiful. They're well done. So I thought it would be interesting to talk to you and to some of our guests along the way in shorter segments about art, about street art, about poetry, about their writing, new books, and just really bring together some of the folks that are also intersecting in that world. And
I totally think it's wonderful, and it's funny. I didn't even think about this till you just brought it up now. That here, I live in Wailuku area of Maui, and the radio stations are in Wailuku, and they started a street art plan about 2 years ago, and we have so many talented artists here on Maui, and now they've taken entire rather large walls and created about 7 or 8 murals throughout the town. Now, Wailuku town's not that big. I think it's probably smaller than Burbank. But I have to say, when I'm walking through town now, to be able to see these are lovely pieces of art. They're not your typical LA, street art, that kind of things, but they're beautiful murals that express different stories, like Hawaiian feelings, Hawaiian stories. And one has like a story of a Hawaiian woman kind of overlooking Iao Valley, and shows the river, and she's kind of heavy set, and she's giving her love forth to nature. Another one's got a bird flying down and weaving a lei around somebody. And so it does indeed, and you're so right. It kind of gives us another whole way of being out in our cities and seeing a different light and energy through that street art, and it really is a beautiful gift.
yeah, and it's a tribute in some cases. I mean, George Floyd inspired incredible murals all over the country that are just beautiful, and you can find those online. But they inform the community as well. They reflect cultures. They inform other artists, and then those artists, feed upon those influences from different places. I was just saying earlier, we have now the comeback of vinyl, and so we have artists like Daniel Pipitone, who does incredible artwork for a lot of different artists, and we can explore some of those, artists in the music world too.
And because raised on radio, I always would look forward to a new release, and the first thing you do is you pick it up and you look at it, and usually you would take, and I still do with CDs. You take it and you take a pause, and you explore it just the way you absorb a piece of art. What is this telling me? What is this saying? What am I feeling? And just like when you go through a museum, you don't just walk by it. You try to pause in front of, especially the ones that call you, and let it speak to you. And I think that that's one of the gifts of album covers as well. And I hope that doesn't get lost as more and more people are just doing single MP3 releases. And even if you're just doing a single, I hope that single calls upon the energy of having a cover for it that's inspiring as well. Because I think it's so important, Beth.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I do suggest that to the artists, that if it's going to be a release where you're doing single by single and then eventually releasing the album, each of those singles needs to have artwork and a personality and a story attached to it. So it's not like that's an easy way out of dragging out your album and eventually doing it. You have to do the work with it to start telling the story and then let the story evolve. So it's kind of a whole different approach, and that's
Absolutely, absolutely. I had someone once say to me, they thought, well, you could take your album cover for the whole album or EP more and more these days and just do different triptychs of different colors and shades of it, which I thought, well, yeah, that could work. I mean, you could take one and just do different kind of interpretations of the shades and colors and enhancements and graphics to get that energy out of each song. But I do feel that art for me is touches the soul, just as music touches the soul. And of course, as a spoken word artist, I love the power of the word and those messages that come through the words as well. So I'm really glad that you want to take that time, and in the future we'll explore. I mean, there's so much in the field of arts. My gosh, we look at theater art too. There's just beautiful, beautiful nectars from the soul coming from all forms of art. So I love exploring the creative process with you, Beth.
Thank you. My hope is that as we come out of the pandemic and start to open up again, God willing, soon, people will now have realized how much they miss the arts, and will get back to setting aside a little bit of their annual budget to make sure that they take in the arts and introduce their children to paintings and museums. But again, with this movement, it doesn't have to be gallery showings. We are democratizing the art process in this era, and it is coming to the streets. And I hope that cities and small cities will invest more in having musicians, playing in the outdoor spaces that we've created during the pandemic, and not expecting, artists to just be buskers and, get chased around the city when if they have a permit or not. We really need to start appreciating the arts and work them into our planning and in our budgets. So
Well, and on that note, in the future, I mean, I know that many cities, in fact, I think it may have actually had roots starting here. We'd have a first Friday, and it would be in Wailuku Town, and we closed the main street down, and we would have music, and then it would be people selling their crafts, etc. And it's taken off. I know Vegas started, and some other places have started, and found that people love to come out and gather, and I miss that. So hopefully by next year or the end of this year, we'll be able to have those events and celebrate, and maybe even by where there's street art where people can do it. I know it because I do travel shows that many countries now have tours of the areas that have street art, and people will take the tours of that areas people would never have seen or gone to before. But now they're able to go and actually feel what is coming from the local people, the local artists in that way.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, and that's exactly also one of the other things that got me into it was because of the LA traffic. One day we were coming home from a vacation and we just had to get off the freeway, and it was quite far south of Los Angeles. But we said, forget it, we're going to take this side street, following our maps. And we got off and we drove along the side of the freeway for a very long time. And I said, look at this. There were miles and miles of incredible murals, that we never would have discovered otherwise.
It's wonderful. And that you can do anytime. You can do that now in your car. You can find those places. Yeah. Beth, it's wonderful talking to you. It's always beautiful to see your shining face. And we will be continuing the conversation and all these explorations into the creative process in the future. You now have created a couple of, and we're in the process of still creating sites. I will have this on YouTube, and I think you're creating a couple of ways people can access some of the shows.
Yeah, we'll have a Facebook page, and that's something that we can interact on and just share the shows and what's coming up as well. And that's just Facebook, and it's the creators. There are some other sites, but just look for our bright graphic with the headphones, and that's us. And we'll also do Instagram, I think. As you said, you're on YouTube, so you also have some terrestrial places that you place the interviews, and other digital platforms. So we should be pretty easy to find. And
Have the Podbean, and I put it on KUOS on Saturday morning, and at 9 o'clock. So, yeah, it's exciting times, and I love the creative spirit. So thank you for being able to share that energy, and we thank our guest today, Dyan, and God bless you. And until next time, share that wonderful creative spirit and express it, because it always enlightens the world.
thank you, Cindy.
Thank
Aloha.
Aloha.